It's been almost 20 years since digital fish phones released their Spitfish plugin, and for many, myself included, that was their first really good de-esser plugin. But since that, many companies have released some amazing de-essers, but this is a game of inches and we are always pushing for that last bit of quality. So today, we have a new de-esser to check out. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing fantastic. Today we'll be looking at the latest plugin from Wavesfactory. It's called Re-esser and it's actually much more than a de-esser. This is a plugin that separates the sibilants from the tonal part and allows us to process them independently, because this is not only a plugin meant for corrections, it's also a very powerful creative tool. So let's head inside and check that out. Let's go from top to bottom here. At the center, we have a preset menu, which should not be overlooked because there are some pretty cool presets here, both in terms of corrections and enhancements, and also in terms of special effects, so worth checking those out. The main thing here is the tonal and sibilance parts, because this is where the magic happens. It splits the signal into the tonal component and the sibilance component, and you can process them individually. So let's check that out. I have a little voiceover here that I recorded myself for this test. The singer is sitting on the stool preparing to play his set. So you can see the nice little graph here with the sibilance parts in white. So let's solo them. Pretty cool. Let's solo the tonal section now. The singer is sitting on the stool preparing to play his set. Pretty nice. Very, very well done. We also have two key parameters here, which are the sensitivity, which determines when the sibilance processor will kick in, and also a smoothing parameter that determines the transition from the tonal to the sibilance. So it's like a crossfade, and if you want a really fast one, you should turn it all the way down. With the added benefit here of removing the latency. This plugin can run in zero latency, provided that you use the smoothing on the minimum and avoid some parameters on the processors. Like we have a limiter here that has a look ahead, so you should disable that if you want to operate in zero latency. But anyway, it's not much latency, so that's all right. So let's switch this back to the default value. And we have two columns here below the tonal and the sibilance parts, which are the processors. You can have up to 16 effects. You cannot have two instances of the same effect, but you can have one instances for each of them. So the chorus, pretty nice here, a compressor, a convolution, reverb, or for other effects, you can also drag and drop your own impulse responses over here, but it also comes loaded with quite a nice selection. We also have a delay, which can do ping pong and everything. Ping pong is great out here because I'm on a mono track. You have an option to use a mono to stereo version, which is always nice to see. And that will enable the ping pong delay, of course. You will also have an enhancer, two-band enhancer, an EQ, which is pretty cool, 5-band, fully parametric, with a nice number of filter shapes here. You have low cut, high shelf, band pass, notch filter, and so on. We also have a flanger, a limiter with the look ahead. If you enable look ahead, a little more latency. That comes with the process. We also have a lo-fi, which is a kind of a bit crusher. It's essentially a bit crusher. We also have a phaser, a pitch shifter, a reverb, saturation, with some different saturation type. So you can go from very gentle to very hard levels of saturation with this one. We also have stereo tools. Once again, the side is grayed out because I'm on a mono track, but you can turn off the mid and the sides or boost them or just take a little out of them or add something more. Always handy. Tremolo and vibrato. Okay. Same thing goes for this side on the siblings. So it's much more than a de-esser. So let's take everything out here just so you can listen to my lovely little voiceover with the Re-esser doing its thing. I'm not doing any EQ. I'm going to remove this one as well. I just want to focus on the detection and the reduction from this main section here. So I'm gonna switch back, remove the solo, and I'm gonna take the sibilance by 2 dBs, which should be enough. So let's have a listen without Re-esser. The singer is sitting on the stool preparing to play his set. I put a bunch of S's in there because, it's a de-esser. We want lots of S's to work with. Now with the Re-esser enabled. The singer is sitting on the stool preparing to play his set. So awesome detection, very well defined. There are no artifacts, no weird phasing or anything. Pretty neat. But this is just a simple voiceover. So I'm gonna switch myself here to a actual mix so you can hear the Re-esser in action. Okay, so for this one, I have 3 instances of the Re-esser. I have one doing de-essing and some other things too on the main vocals, but mostly de-essing. I also have one for a little lo-fi effect that I wanted to have on the intro for the vocals as well. And I also have a Re-esser on the mix bus, which is pretty nice. So let's have a listen to the de-esser first, to the actual de-esser. I have a phrase here with a lot of S's, so it's really gonna work here. So let's have a listen first without the Re-esser. And a song was softly sung. A bunch of S's. Let's play that once again. And a song was softly sung. Not too bad actually, but it's a bit brittle, a bit harsh, not extremely harsh, but pretty harsh. So let's have a listen now with the Re-esser. And a song was softly sung. Let's solo that. And a song was softly sung. Now without the Re-esser. And a song was softly sung. It's too briefy without the Re-esser, but briefy in a bad way. So what I did here, I have a stereo tools module here because it's a stem and it's pretty soaked in effects. So I took the side completely off because if I want like really wide effects, I'll use some myself. Uh, I also have a compressor, which is not doing that much. It's just, to shave off 2 dBs, and that's okay. And an EQ, which is working much more than the compressor. Of course, I have 3 bands plus a low cut filter on the tonal section. And on the sibilance, I have a shelf, a little cut here as well, and the same filter. I'm also doing the same trick with stereo tools, taking out the sides, because if I want sides, I'll do some myself. So let's have a listen and visualize what the compressor is doing. And a song was softly sung. So it's barely touching. Just, it's already very compressed, so it doesn't need much. But let's take out the EQ and have a listen. And a song was softly sung. It's already better than the original because the sibilance is taken out 1.5 dB, 1.6 dB here. So it's making a difference already, even without the EQ. So let's turn on the EQs.
And a song was softly sung.
Let's bypass the Re-esser one more time, just to make sure.
And a song was softly sung.
You can hear that there's a lot of widening on those effects and the quite harsh character overall. So,
and a song was softly sung.
it's much more controlled and much more pleasing, in my opinion, with the Re-esser. Okay, so let's check out the intro, and this is where I've used the Re-esser as a lo-fi thing. Kind of a lo-fi, kind of a modulation going on at the same time, which is pretty nice. I went for the Back to the Future preset and made a few adjustments to fit the song. So let's have a listen.
On a dark December morning, a cold wind blowing, your love for me was showing.
Pretty cool. Without the Re-esser,
On a dark December morning, a cold wind blowing.
now with the Re-esser,
On a dark December morning, a cold wind blowing, your love for me was showing.
pretty cool. By the way, you can have different speeds on the graph here. Just go for the zoom. So let's check out the 1x speed.
On a dark
Super fast because the window is quite small for the time.
cold
Up to 16, super slow.
your love for me was showing.
4 is usually good. So yeah, pretty nice. For this one, I would probably work a bit more on the smoothing parameter here. I saw some small artifacts. And depending on the material you're working with, it can be a bit hard to match these two, both the sensitivity and the smoothing. And for this, I recommend some automation depending on the material. The algorithm, the detector that ReEsser runs usually gets things right, but sometimes you have to give it a hand, of course. So last but not least, we have a mix bus ReEsser here. It's not doing anything on the sibilance, so sensitivity and smoothing turn all the way down. I went for the simple mastering chain preset and made a few adjustments. So let's check that out. First, without the ReEsser.
On a dark December morning, a cold wind blowing, your love for me was showing.
Now with the ReEsser.
On a dark December morning, a cold wind blowing, your love for me was showing.
It adds a bit more body. I'm doing some saturation, some compression, some heavy EQ, and basic limiting. Let's check out a more busy section of the song to have a better understanding of the impact of the ReEsser on this mix bus.
And a song was softly sung from the angels up above, a symphony of love.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I wasn't expecting this at all. And it's nice to have because you get a lot of value for your money because you're getting a great ESer and also a bunch of other plugins actually included on this one. So let's wrap this up with the group feature. This is essentially a linking feature. So if you set this instance to group one and other ReEsser instances to the same group, it will link the sensitivity and the smoothing parameters. So the detection is coherent between all the ReEsser instances in that group. Why this is handy? Because you can solo the tonal or the sibilance part on each track you're working with and process them with your own plugins in case you don't want to use the onboard modules here. And last but not least, we have a mix feature here and a output trim, and that's it. It's much more than a de-esser, so I really recommend getting a demo. There's a 14-day demo available. I really recommend checking this out and also checking out the other Wavesfactory plugins in case you don't know their work. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.